Hey guys, and welcome to Let's Play Rocket Knight Adventures on the Sega Genesis. Now, this is a fun little platformer that I think is fairly well known at least. I'm pretty sure most people who are into the Genesis gaming scene, I guess you could say, have probably heard of this game. So it's definitely a good one, and you're in for a treat if you've never seen it before. So let's start out with the options. We've got some difficulty settings. You can see I've already got it set on normal. That's because I've been playing and I reset. We've got 4 difficulty levels: easy, normal, hard, and children. You have to admit, it's a little bit embarrassing if you're an adult to be playing on the children level. Like, even if you're not really that good at games, there's just something about the name that makes you really not want to. So yeah, obviously we're going to stick with normal, and the controls are good. So let's get going. Now, as is standard fare with a lot of these older games, they don't really explain too much of the story in the game. There's actually a pretty fairly well-written backstory that was in the manual to this game that explains a whole lot of stuff. But basically, we're in control of Sparkster here, who is an opossum knight. Yeah, you don't really hear that a lot. He is basically roaming the galaxy in search of this other rocket knight, which is what he is. As you can see, we're a knight, we have a sword in our knight armor, and we have a rocket, which is really cool, and makes its way into gameplay quite a lot. And basically, we're hunting him. We come across this kingdom. Some guy with some weird name, I don't even remember, kidnapped... no, he hired Axel Gear, who's the guy that Sparkster is after, to kidnap the princess, and it's actually a pretty big story, but I don't actually remember most of it offhand, so you'll have to excuse me for my terrible retelling of it. But anyway, as you can see, we're just beating the crap out of guys with swords. We have a pretty cool attack that sends out like this little sonic thing whenever we swing our sword, which is really, really nice. And you can also hit enemies multiple times if they're inside you and kind of take advantage of their invisibility. It's actually kind of neat. Alright, so we have a place here we need to use our rocket. Basically, we just hold the attack button down to charge it, pick a direction, and go. It's pretty simple. You can use it quite a bit to sort of speed through levels here. You can see we can sort of skip past a lot of these guys. Just be a little careful when you use it. You can shoot yourself into some pretty ugly predicaments. Alright, once we get here, we gotta destroy these things. Again, you can use the period where you can't be hit after you damage them, and they kind of flash for a bit. You can pretty much just, like, get inside their sprite and just, wail on them with a sword, so... Alright, so let's keep on going here. Now, in this section, we actually have a couple things we can grab. These little apple things here are health recovery, which of course is notated by our hearts at the top. You have 8, but don't let that fool you. There are a lot of things in this game that can do like 5 to 7 hearts worth of damage, so... if we go out here, you get a 1-up, which you don't start out with any, actually, in hard mode. Normal mode, rather. So, probably want to grab those when you come across them. Alright, here's a mini-boss, and the mini-boss is defeated. I always like that little trick, just sort of shoot up in between them there. And now we have an actual boss. Basically, he started out doing this first. I hate when he does that. Alright, and then what I like to do is just rocket up here and get behind him like this, and he can't turn around, so you can pretty much just stay back here and wail on the guy. Just make sure you, like, destroy those little ammo balls. Of course, don't run into him either. And you can see that guy actually did 3 hearts worth of damage, so... you do have 8 hearts, but it goes away rather quickly if you're not careful. Alright, now we got the second form. We're in this water here. You want to hit this guy while he's going around. Hitting him will kind of make him change direction, so you might want to plan a bit when you do hit him. I've got him in a little bit of a loop, but it's not very comfortable, so I'm going to let that go. Crap. See, I hate when I let him roam around too much. If I get him like stuck in the corner from the start, that's good, but... Alright, here we go. Alright, and that took him down. Alright, and now we have yet another section. Yeah, the levels are actually kind of long. Even when you get to bosses, they usually continue. There are usually multiple bosses in each level. So here we have this little flying section. You can see our little gauge up there at the top is fully charged, so we can just fly along and hit these guys down with our sword, which is pretty neat. These guys don't really do a whole lot unless you let them get to the left edge of the screen, in which they'll shoot behind you, or behind them in 3 directions. So... just hit them as they come up, it's pretty easy. Now we've got another little mini-boss here. We've got this little mechanical sea dragon thing. Here's where you can kind of use that invincibility I was talking about, and take him out before he can really even do anything. That guy's really not that threatening either way. He pretty much just kind of jumps around the screen, so... And no, that's not the end of the level. We've still got more. So obviously, don't jump in the fire. Fire is bad, and it will burn you. It doesn't do too much damage, though. I think it's only like 1 heart's worth, so it's really not too bad if you do mess up. Alright, gonna use our rocket again. Oop. Alright, now this section can be a little bit tricky if you don't really know the ins and outs of it. We got this lava that's sort of being shot at us from the side. You kind of have to look to see where it's going, but also look ahead of you. And I like to get down under that one. And you can pretty much just stay down here at the bottom and duck and avoid those three. Now with this one we want to wait before jumping up and sort of do that, and you can see that'll make us avoid all three shots and go into the door. That one can actually be a little bit tough if you don't know. I mean, they start you out pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. You know, this game, again, in sort of old game fashion, is not too forgiving, so... So let's just take these guys out as we go up the stairs. And, oh yeah, I didn't mention, but those little red gems are points. You can see we have our score up there at the top, so if you care about that kind of thing, you can collect those. I usually like to, just because. There's also a 1-up there, so make sure to grab that. Oh, look, a present. Oh. I always liked that little scene for some reason. It's you know, kind of corny, I guess, but I always liked it. I enjoyed it. Now, there's also a series of bananas up here. If you grab those will refill your health by some amount. I don't know, like 3 or 4 hearts. Now, this is the actual boss of level 1. After we defeat this, the level will come to a close. It's pretty simple. If you fought him any at all before, like if you played this game, you kind of already know his pattern. He always sort of telegraphs where he's going to go. So let's make sure to hit him as much as you can. Now, here we just have to avoid the attack. It's kind of jump in between here. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's not too bad. These things don't deal too much damage, even if you do mess up, so... He shoots out the last one, and that little thing which I got hit by, of all things. That's kind of weird. I don't think I've ever done that before. Whoa, watch out for the tail. And if you're good enough, you can hit him sort of as he's still up there on the roof. Okay, there we go. Looks like he took care of him. So yeah, not too bad. Still the first level. Oh, nice, and it caught him with his eyes closed. That always happens, you know? That always happens to me, anyway. It seems like whenever I get my picture taken, I always have my eyes closed. It's always kind of been a running joke in school and stuff, you know, back then. That anytime I'd get my picture taken, I had like the fastest eyes in the school. But anyway, that's completely irrelevant to this, so let's go ahead and watch the scene. You can see this guy right here is, what? I completely forgot his name now, Axel something. And you can see he's kidnapping the princess. Ooh, and he jumps off. Flies away and whatever the heck that thing is, I don't know, but... Ooh, and unfortunately we got blown away, so this is going to start up stage number 2. So we start out here, I don't really know where this is, but, well, we've got a mini-boss right off the bat. This guy you can get quite a lot of damage in if you jump and hit him with the sword. You can kind of hear it hitting multiple times. Just make sure to watch out for his arms. It's really not too bad. This is pretty simple. And there we go. We've already taken him down. Okay, so now we continue forward. We're going to have some guys on these little jet ski things here, which I always thought were kind of neat. You can basically destroy the shot with a sword. Basically what I just want to see a shot just shoot twice, and that will usually take him down. Got a waterfall here. If you kind of rocket up and to the left of it, you'll get a 1-up there. So we're definitely racking those up already. And make sure to watch out for these little bat owl things. I don't know what they're supposed to be. They can kind of knock you off course and into these little spike things here, which will obviously damage you. So. Alright, now we're going to get to do a little bit of background play. You can see we're back there in the shadows. So just make your way along these vines. We can send back to the front. Once we get here, we have yet another mini-boss. Quite a lot of them, yeah. Now what I like to do is stay over here on the right side and just barely turn to the left. You can jump over him right here. His weak point is obviously the red glowing thing on the tail. You'll get hit right there, but you can see you can get numerous attacks in. And then if you play this right, you can hit him multiple times as he kind of goes back and forth. And then usually again as he goes up here, it wasn't quite enough to take him down. Phew, alright, that worked out. I was just about to get hit. But if you do get hit a few times, it's alright, because they give you 3 hearts worth of recovery there, so that works. Alright, now into the next part. We're into some sort of cavern of sorts, which is pretty neat. Got to avoid the spinning blades in the water, which is a little bit of a pain. The water controls in this game I do not like, because you naturally float very fast, and it's really hard to fight against that. So you kind of have, you're like almost always holding down. Thankfully they give you some bananas right there, so that always helps. So it's really a pain, and so, like, you kind of see me going up and down. That's because I'm naturally floating. And see, to avoid things like that, it makes it really tough. So I don't know, I'm not really a fan of it. Here you can just stay on the left to avoid the falling spikes. And then go through here. This part's relatively simple. It looks like it might be a little complicated, but I just stay along the bottom here. There's always a safe spot that moves. So I just go up and to the next part. Oh, this part's kind of neat, actually. We're on this little thing. I always like to do this. You can sort of like shoot off to the side, but you stay right on the thing. It's kind of weird, but make sure to duck under those. Now we're going to have some more enemies on these little trolleys. So just hit them as they come along. It's not too tough. This section in general, it looks like it might be kind of a pain, but in general, you should be alright here. Oh, tricked me. So just make sure to avoid the bombs. They're usually pretty easy. I love the music. It almost turns like a carnival right there. I always like that part. Ooh. Right, we should be about done with this section. Yeah, here we go. Now, as you can see, we have to jump off the cart onto the roof. They give you some health recovery there, which is very nice. They're usually pretty generous with health recovery. Anytime you might need it, there's usually something laying around. Now we're going to have to jump on a series of these carts, which is a little bit... I don't know, it doesn't quite work. You sort of slide a little bit. Make sure to duck under the spikes there. Now this is pretty much the easiest section in the world, as you'll soon see. How many people thought your video was stuck? I almost thought that was weird. Anyway, fly through a chicken coop, just for good measure. Hey, get off me, man. Go away. No, he can't hurt or anything. He's just there to look funny. Alright, and now this is actually the stage boss for level 2. He's got multiple forms, and the first one here, you pretty much just want to get right next to him. You probably want to avoid the cannon shots. You know, might be a good idea. But the good news is they don't really do a lot, and you can see that only took one heart off, so it's no big deal. If you get right next to them and hit them multiple times, that's a really good way to take care of these. It's pretty much a good way to take care of all the bosses, actually. Yeah, don't get too smug with yourself there. Alright, now this one's a little bit more tricky because these hands are moving around, but they move around in a predictable pattern. They always kind of go up and down at that circular motion there, so if you plan it out, you can usually get some pretty good hits in. I was a little slow with the sword there, so I took a hit, but again, only one heart, so it's not a big deal. Now here, I like to get on the edge and wait for the second hand to shoot, and then just let go. If you just let go of the rocket without doing a specified direction, it'll just sort of circle in place. I didn't point that out, but that's how you do that attack, and that really works well against that guy. Okay, now we're getting ready to start the third form, which is going to come from the right. Basically, just avoid the little balls that he's shooting out there. It's not too tough, except for in situations like that when they're right next to each other. It can be a little bit of a pain. Otherwise, again, just stay right next to it, wail on it with the sword. And yeah, if you run into it, I think that actually takes off like 3 or 4 hearts worth of damage. So and that's a little more deadly than just being hit by the energy it shoots out. But alright, that's gonna do it for stage number 2. Awesome. So we get our score, if anybody cares about that kind of thing. And it's also really nice that they refill your hearts in between stages. I guess that's kind of expected, but they really could have made it very, very difficult if they didn't do that. Okay, stage number 3. Let's get this thing started. I don't have no idea where this is. They don't explain at all why we're in some sort of cavern with rising and falling lava, but, well, just go with it, I guess. So, obviously, you don't want to touch that stuff. If you do, it is instant death. So, even if you just barely clip the top of it, it makes it really dangerous when you're going downhill. Here, I like to use the rocket. Just jump here and go to the right, and you'll land on that platform. And here, you kind of have to use the reflection in the lava to jump on some hidden platforms. So, just play it safe and wait. It's possible to do it without actually even seeing where you're going, as long as you just sort of time the jumps right, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's really not worth the risk. Alright, be careful there. Anytime you have to make a long drop, it's very easy to go too early and, like, hit the top of the lava. Alright, in we go. Now, this is a fairly annoying section. You can see we've got rising and falling water, and like I said before, you naturally float. So avoiding these spikes can be a little bit of a pain. I just barely made that. And these fish are also a nuisance, but again, the good news is they don't do much damage at all. I think it's half a heart per hit, so yeah, looks like it. So, I mean, you can pretty much get wailed off of these guys, and there's also a banana right here, so that'll pretty much completely fill you up. Like I said, they're usually pretty generous with the health recovery. Now, you can see the fish are gone, and that's because we're going to have to do some adept swimming. I like to stay on the top there and just let it carry me down as opposed to trying to actually do it myself. Now here, be somewhat quick. That was a little too quick. Thankfully, I got over that in my invincibility period. Alright, so then we go down here, avoiding the spikes, and we're going to fight our next little mini-boss. Alright, now with this guy, I kind of use a little bit of a modified strategy than what you're really supposed to do. First thing I do is take out this right claw. And you could probably guess the idea is for you to take out both of the claws and then focus on the head. But what I like to do is just take out one of the claws. The left one will bug you a bit, but you can sort of cheat a bit and just sort of go up and down. And if you time the shot just right, you can hit him. And you can see you can pretty much keep that thing at bay. And as long as you're doing this, you're not at risk of taking any damage. It may take you a few tries to actually get the hit in on him, but you can take him down this way fairly easily. And if you get into a rhythm like this, it goes pretty quick. Probably just about gone. Yep, there he goes. If you destroy both of the claws, he'll go into another phase where he, like, shoots, I think it's some type of ring up at you, and you just kind of have to dive bomb him with a rocket, so it's a little bit more of a pain. I like to just do it that way. Now, this thing right here, I hate this little walking thing. It's a cool idea, but this thing, like, jerks around all over the place. You never know where you're going to end up if you jump off, and you have to, or otherwise you get hit by those spikes. And you can see I'm getting, like, pushed around all over this thing, and it just doesn't work well. It's a little too jerky. Kind of learn to get used to it. Obviously, you have to, otherwise you won't be able to go through the lava. That was actually really close. I was taking a risk by just walking off there. Alright, so let's try to get back on, and see, look at this. I'm about to fall off the front edge, and I'm just, like, standing still. Alright, get me off this thing. Okay, this is the next actual stage boss, some kind of giant mechanical fish. I don't know, just, again, just go with it. Now here you can pretty much just walk to the left. I like to charge up a rocket and use it there just to make sure you don't get hit. Now, once these fall, go to the right side, because he's actually going to drop health recovery here for you. This is actually a very easy boss. You can see he spits out bananas right there you can grab. So you actually can come out of this with more health than you went in it with. Then you have to hit the guy as he comes up. That's really the only way to deal damage, and then the cycle repeats. Now this time, we actually want to stay on the upper path and just keep walking to the right. I know it doesn't look like you can make that, but you do. It's just fine. So just keep going. Let's see how it's a bad place to be. And again, the cycle repeats. Just stay on the right. He'll always shoot health recovery right there, so if you do happen to take damage, no big deal. You can always recover it. And try to, there you go, get some shots in on the guy in the middle. He's dead, and we meet in the next stage. And again, it caught him with his eyes closed. How many times is that going to happen? You can do some silly things, like if you shoot off in a rocket, and like the rocket blast ends in midair, he'll kind of make this like little scared face as he's falling down. That's kind of fun to try for, but kind of hard to get.